Yes, hi and hello, sports fans. Welcome to Shek Show. After a 2 week hiatus, a lot of people have weighed in on tomato or potato, potato v tomato. I think people have started to come around on the virtues of the tomato. Maybe we'll dig into that. I don't know. Welcome to the show either way. There's Eddie Spaghetti behind the glass in his usual spot, ready to roll and seated high atop show business. It's our pal Kevin Hench, and I think he's feeling real good because I know we keep saying it, but he's in the sweetest spot of all as a sports fan because the most important league is pro football, and the most important position in pro football is the QB. And it seems quite clear that his team has solved that position after what, 3 years, 4 years out in the desert without one. Now they're right back to having one of the two or three best quarterbacks of the generation, it would seem. Drake Maye. Anyway, how are you, Hench?
I'm great. In addition to Drake Maye, who can only be stopped by criminally incompetent officiating, um, this is also a pretty semi-annual moment where, and Spaghetti knows this, where whenever a team gets up 3-zip in the baseball playoffs, we get to be reminded of the only time any team has ever come back from 3-0, which it's like almost like having the Red Sox in the playoffs still. It's like, once that graphic starts going up, once the Dodgers go up 3-zip on the Brewers, we know the graphic's coming. And then as Red Sox fans, we're so excited because we know Yankee fans will be tuning in to find out what happened in the football game, and they'll get hit with that graphic. Like they've barely recovered from their flame out against the Blue Jays. And then they're like, oh, remember this flame out? It's just so delightful.
Well, and also, Tom Brady was a sixth round draft pick. Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. Right in line with all of that is there's no way that you could do a national broadcast featuring the Dodgers without a cutaway to Dave Roberts without them saying, of course, made the swipe that bag that ignited the rally from '03 for those Red Sox and all the rest of it. So yeah, that's definitely true. Here's the question philosophically, or I don't know what it is. Um, which is better? And I guess I'm the only one who can really answer that because I'm the only objective one in this. Spaghetti's a Yankees fan, but he's like, whatever he is, 27 and or 38, whatever
30,
he is, something like
33.
that. And Hench is like 68 or 70, whatever he is. So which is better to be? Hench watched the Bucky Dent. He knows about Bucky Dent. You were too young. You don't remember 75, right? You don't
No,
remember
that's
Bernie Carbo and all that.
no, yeah, I watched that with my dad.
You do remember Carlton
Yeah,
Fisk and all of that.
yeah.
Really? Where
That
were
was
you for Fisk?
that was the start of it. I was in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, being raised by the Rastafarians, and that we
Who
got
were they
so,
rooting for?
we got so little television, that the World Series, it had to be like the World Series for there to be anything on the TV. Like TV came on at 4 in the afternoon. Your programming started at 4 in the afternoon, and like you'd see some promo that you were going to get cartoons on Saturday, and you'd wake up and you turn on the TV and it's like, yeah, not St. Thomas. That's not going to be in the Caribbean. Your programming will start at 4 in the afternoon. Anyway, on WVWI, watching the 75 World Series with my dad, starting the Red Sox affliction. And then, of course, 78 Bucky Dent, 86, can't get worse than that. And then Big Poppy set us free.
Well, okay, so it goes all the way back to 75 even for you. I'm curious what I can't imagine like 6, 7 year old Kevin Hench watching cartoons. I mean, like, what would you? Then again, you did say, and it stunned me a few years ago when, after knowing you for 20 years, you announced that you actually are into the Star Wars universe. That surprised me because you turn your nose up at ironically funny movies like Red Dawn and Roadhouse. You have no time for those. I imagine like 7 year old Hench watching the Super Friends and being like, well, that would never happen. Green Lantern has greater power.
I was a child, I mean, I hadn't become a cynical prick yet.
Which did you like? Did you, well, Captain Caveman, was that a
I
winner for
mean, you know what
you?
my brother and I really loved, loved was Scooby-Doo. And that motherfucker, he delivered so consistently. It was awesome. Um, but anyway, so what was your question going to be about which is better or which is worse?
Well,
Or
I mean, in 20 year of the Lord 2025, especially Eddie Spaghetti has said many times before, like, I don't care what happened in the past. That doesn't do anything for me now. So I think if you are a Red Sox or Yankees, if you had to choose which you would assume and all the emotions associated with it, I think you'd be better off to be a Red Sox fan right
But
now.
it's not even close, in my opinion. I think, Hench just brought up like seeing the graphic and like, oh, getting over the Blue Jays loss. I legitimately believe this, and I don't even think you have to be like super into the Yankees, as I am. But like that press conference yesterday, that literally solidified what I said on the last show that I was like, there is a Yankees deep state because Aaron Boone has no idea what's like. He doesn't manage anything. He doesn't do anything. He's just a mouthpiece, and they must have forgot to feed him some lines because him and Brian Cashman both had different answers about the Anthony Volpe injury. One of them said that it did affect his play during the season. One of them said they did not affect the play during the season. It looks like he's going to be missing the start of the season. Garrett Cole not ready for the start of the season. Carlos Rodon had bone spurs removed. He's not ready for the start of the season. Somehow, Aaron Judge is not having surgery on his shoulder issue, but people are still afraid of that. And then you could always pencil in one major injury happening during spring training. So right now, like Hal Steinbrenner is not even close to being like he's doing such a disservice to the name Steinbrenner because George would find it like, all right, Tarek Skubal apparently 200 million apart from what he wants in his contract with the Tigers. George Steinbrenner would do everything, like he would move heaven and earth to make sure he got Skubal on the Yankees. The skiing stuff, like there's rumors going out. I'm not sure if the Pirates going to move him right this second, but he would do everything in his power to go acquire him. Hal just likes to collect the
There's no,
paycheck.
but
He
let me
likes
just
to
say
make a
this.
profit. I don't mean to throw him out because you're a Pirates fan.
I
I'm
know.
just saying in
I just want to
general.
say this jive that is going on. That's not just with the Yankees, but with a lot of teams. Like we need to be going
The
after
trade pro
Skeens.
the
Like
trade
they're not
proposals
trading
are
Paul
awful.
Skeens. They're not trading Paul
I
Skeens
mean,
anymore.
I do think it's smarter for the Pirates to go trade him before he just walks for nothing. I do think you should probably get some
We got a
prospects
few
back,
years until
but
we get to that place.
agreed.
But okay.
But so the point is just that Hal Steinbrenner is he just likes to collect the paychecks. He likes to make a profit off this team. He does not care about winning like his father did. And Brian Cashman's a guy that is like okay with that. He's like him, and that's why he has a job still because Hal Steinbrenner likes him. But he clearly has no relationship with the players. He's fought with A-Rod. He's fought with Derek Jeter. He almost let Aaron Judge go to the Giants, and they don't have a good relationship. You could kind of tell that from stuff he said yesterday about like people asked him, "You're wasting Judge's prime. He's like the best player of the generation." And then his response was something to like, we're just trying to put out the best team. We don't think about like wasting a player's career. It's like this guy is an all-time player. I am just so sick and tired of this organization. Like the Dodgers, which are going to make us have a lockout in 2 seasons, but they're operating the way the Yankees used to operate. I'm okay with being the big bad evil empire. I want to win. I'm tired of these like okay regular seasons and it crumbles apart. So I think the answer is easily to be Hench's, root for his sports teams. And I do think Yankees fans feel worse today or yesterday when that press conference was going on. They do the minute after that Blue Jays miserable series loss.
Well, it's like people try to hang their hat on, Bill Russell's Celtics as though that is part of their pride in being a Celtics fan. It's like how many of those Bill Russell titles did you get to see there? How visceral is your pleasure in celebrating what happened in 1962? You mentioned the Dodgers.
Couple
Go
thoughts.
ahead. Go ahead. Go
One,
ahead.
it's
Is
I,
Bronny is
it,
Hank? Hank is Bronny, and Bronny is Hank. Is that what Spaghetti's telling us here?
it kind of
Big
it's
drop off.
it, but it's devastating to learn that Hal Steinbrenner is living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't
Or
realize
Hal. I'm sorry, I said Hank. Hal.
Hal, but it's like when the cop is walking up to the driver after some crazy illegal driving, like the cop is assuming you're drunk. Like, this guy has to be drunk. There's no way a sober person just went from one side of the road to the other and back. Like, it's like, obviously I'm approaching a drunk driver. And then it's like, it's an awkward thing for the drunk driver because it's like, are you going to claim that you drive like this when you're sober? So when somebody gives you the opportunity to say like, did Anthony Volpe's injury affect his play? You better say yes. Yes, he was injured. Because if you're like, no, that's how he plays. He has the next to worst on-base percentage in all of baseball. He's perfectly fine. Then it's like, just release him. If you use the injury as an excuse, the guy was a train wreck. Like, he was awful. And that's why he was being booed constantly. It's like, if somebody gives you the alibi of an injury, just claim it, even if it's not true. Because if you're saying this is his ceiling as a player, then you can't put him out there, obviously. So the idea that he's, that we got shortstop solved is hilarious. And then for Yankee haters, the fact that Rodon will pass Garrett Cole in the revolving door, like Cole will come back, and then it's like, oh, but those wins only replace the wins that you're losing. Because whenever a pitcher is like starting the season broken, it's very rare that guy comes back and has a good season starting in June. It's just like, oh, you're broken. And this new thing, by the way, where
it's like you got to build. Yeah, there's something about the musculature or whatever or the endurance or whatever of being a pitcher, that it's not like you come back from injury. It's like, well, he's nice and fresh. It's like running back is like, well, his legs are fresh, so he's ready to roll. That does not. That's not the case with pitchers. They have to build themselves up to go 200 innings or 180 innings.
And I don't understand why the human body is so different than when Nolan Ryan pitched. But like now, if you don't break camp with 9 or 10 starting pitchers, you're not going to make it to the finish line. Like, it's just crazy. You can pencil in a starting rotation worth of guys getting hurt every year. I mean, it's like, the Red Sox got 30 total starts out of Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, Hunter Dobbins, and Richard Fitz. Like, they all broke, so then we got to the playoffs and we had one starter. Now it'll be nice because we have so many chips in the organization that will go crochet Scooble to start the next round of playoffs, because the Yankees already dealt a lot of prospects to obtain all that trash in the bullpen for this run.
Well, by the way, it's part of it is making bad decisions along the way, like Gleyber Torres, right? Like, I mean, I remember him being buzzed about whatever that was 6-8 years ago, and now he's thriving with the tribe or whatever they call themselves now, the traffic guardians.
But it's the team is not operating like a winner. They're operating like they just want to just build a profit, and they just want to, like I was saying before, they want to keep collecting the paychecks because it's the only thing the Steinbrenner family has, and it's they're now going to break the longest stretch in Yankees history in between World Series. The last one being 09. We're going to be into the 16th season. It's going to be way beyond that. If you told me that like the Yankees were an inch away in like 17 around that stretch when they were in the playoffs a bunch, and they were losing to the Red Sox, they were losing to the Rays, they were losing to and then obviously the Dodgers last year, I would be shocked that the Yankees didn't have a World Series title between after the 2009 season and 2025. It's just completely absurd, and it's sickening.
And by the way, Bellinger and Stanton had crazy outlier OPSs. If you look at like career trajectory, like Stanton reverted to 8 years ago. Stanton had a crazy OPS, and then Bellinger had his reverse splits were so utterly insane. He had an over 1,000 OPS versus lefties. So, my hope is that, I mean, I know he opted out, but that the Yankees extend him, and then he hits the windshield of regression to the mean, because he's not, that 1,000 OPS versus lefties is never happening again. So like, ironically, a bunch of stuff broke right for the Yankees this year.
Yeah.
And then they still have nothing to show for it. So it is, yes, much better to be a Red Sox fan in this moment.
I'd like to see, though. Go ahead.
But what I would say is better, still better to be a Yankee fan at this low moment in their history than to be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Well, we'll get to the Steelers in just a minute. Please, Hench. You know, I like to take care of one topic and finish and then move on to the next thing. I don't
Well,
like to,
yeah, I
that's not
know.
my way
You're
to
so
bounce.
organized. That's why our pre-production meetings are so long.
Well, I mean, I am distracted because I was about to say something about the Yankees, but there's Eddie Spaghetti eating a banana as though he's an ape. The way he ate, it's not. Well, it's not that you're eating it. I mean, I could be offended that you can't find time to eat a breakfast before or after we do our important recording sessions, but it's the nature in which you ate that. If you can watch it on YouTube, everybody, do yourself a favor. Shek Show. Spaghetti eats it as though he's a gorilla himself. He doesn't know that he's a human being.
There's one very unflattering way.
Mouth,
giant
chunks.
Because I'm on camera and I don't have time today, so I have to eat at this window.
I mean, you ate it in two bites.
Yeah, because I don't want people to screenshot it. You can't eat a banana like a corn on the cob. Like, it's got to be the long way. It's very
that's a great visual of a man putting half of a banana, stuffing it into his face. There's no way anybody could take that and misinterpret it and repurpose those images. What I will say, Spaghetti, is it's mid-October. We're in award season for fruit, and you're bothering with a banana, which wouldn't pass my lips under the best of circumstances. Go get yourself an Envy apple. Go get yourself a Honeycrisp apple and do a taste test side by side. The winner, your mouth, because either way, the Envy and Honeycrisp understand that this is when you put out your best. This is your prime. Anyway,
I eat I want a banana per day, and I'm definitely allergic to bananas because every time I eat them, the roof of my mouth tingles and hurts. So there's something wrong with me.
Well, then keep eating them by all means. If you're allergic to them, make sure you eat one every day. Nay, two. I would love to see, because as I've made the case many times over with you guys, the baseball playoffs, it's so dumb. I understand it's for ratings and the network partners and, casting as big a net as possible for fan bases and everything else. And that's why you have 27 wild cards and all that kind of stuff in baseball. But unlike football or basketball, it's just the nature of the game. The difference between the very good and the merely good is a lot narrower than it is in, say, the NBA. The very good teams whip the good teams in the playoffs just about every single time. I'd love to see in an alternate universe how many titles would have happened if you removed all that merely good, like the 88 win kind of teams. Would the Yankees have won more titles? Would the Red Sox have more? Would the Dodgers have more? I think the Dodgers probably would. I'd love to go back through, since they didn't learn the lesson. Like, man, these wild cards are really creating a sort of fraudulence in our postseason. No, let's add more to them. In fact, let's just keep piling in teams.
The Dodgers this year are going to be the beneficiary of that system.
I guess so. Right.
Yeah. Right. They realized, they were like, look, we don't need to redline it start to finish to get one of the top two seeds. Like, with our pitching, we're not worried about the Reds in a short series. Like, it's weird because normally in a short series, you should just be holding your butt. Like, fucking, it's such a short series, anything could happen. And then it's like, we got that, the Dodgers got the Reds. And you're like, oh, that's a bye. You got a bye in the first round. And so then you're like, oh, now we're in the final four where we would have been if we had won, if we had finished in the top two. And so the way it is broken for the Dodgers, and I'm getting into the new evil empire. I'm like, it's like, I've never really had anything against the Dodgers, but now when it's like, okay, you got the fucking Reds in the first round, then you don't get Zach Wheeler. The Phillies don't have their ace. They're going into it without their number one. Then the Phillies do this thing, which the Brewers also did, which is when you walk the bases loaded intentionally, everybody listen up. When you walk the bases loaded intentionally, the next guy merely has to get on base to get that run home. Whereas the guy you just walked has to get a hit. And Shohei Ohtani struck out 187 times during the season. So the Phillies are like, oh, we don't want any part of the monster. It's like, great, you just walked in the tying run in Mookie Betts, and then the Brewers repeated it precisely with Mookie Betts. It's like, don't walk the bases loaded. Now you're looking at the second guy's on base percentage versus the first guy's batting average. And that number is always way bigger anyway. So the Dodgers get the Reds in the first round. They get the Zach Wheeler Phillies in the second round. Not only do they walk the bases loaded to award them a run, the fucking bunt with Brandon Stott with a donkey on second base. Like, the guy makes a good bunt. Like, that is not a bad bunt. In 2025, when you look at how shitty the bunting is, like, that was a good bunt. Castellanos is out by 40 fucking feet at third base. So if you're the Phillies skipper, you're like, if this guy gets this bunt down and that guy's out by a lot, bunting is stupid. Bunting is not a good idea. Try to have Stott pull the ball to the right side. Anyway, so the Phillies,
I like also that the broadcasters will without fail mention, like, today's batters just don't practice bunting very much, so they're not good at it. It's like, hey, tell all the skippers that, because then they should stop doing it.
Exactly. This guy hasn't bunted since AA. Okay, I'm going to call it in the playoffs. So the Phillies basically they get a walkover bye in the first round against the Reds. The Phillies commit suicide in the next round. Then they get the Brewers, and the moment where Jackson Chourio gets hurt swinging the bat, you're like, oh, the Dodgers have a little bit of that Patriot thing happening, or it's like, you're very good for sure. Oh, and you're fucking unbelievably lucky too. Like, how is this happening? Like, the guy, the best player on the other team, just got hurt swinging the bat, and and Terang is gonna fucking do Neo in the Matrix to get out of the way of a breaking ball that would have tied the game. Mm-hmm. Hey, Terang, just feel free to wear that.
That was great.
It's so crazy, all the fucking shit that is happening, in addition to being excellent, to help the Dodgers just kind of cruise to their
well, the other thing is, I would point at advanced analytics as the guilty party of why this happens. Like, the idea that you would load the bases up in this ultimate high leverage, like high pressure situation, assumes that the people that you're deploying out there aren't people but computers. They're robots. And it's like, well, this is the best probability for us to escape this inning. It's like, yeah, what about the guy who's now standing out there on the hill, who, if he throws a bad pitch, the series is over, the season is over, and all of that? That you're putting that guy in a really rough spot there, Skip. Like, he's not immune to emotion. He hears the crowd, he feels the pressure of everything else. That's a really tough spot. That's why we love watching sports in these big spots, these high pressure situations, to see if the guy who we know has swung the golf club a billion times at the practice range, if he can repeat that swing from the fairway on the 18th on Sunday. That's what you're looking to see. Now you're putting him in there like, hey, Skip, it's 3-2. The season is on the line. Don't throw a ball. Like, I mean, it's just a terrible spot to put your guy in. But you mentioned the Dodgers, and it's funny. Serendipity that you would mention the evil empire, or say the Dodgers are the new evil empire, because we didn't even talk about it in our production meeting, because I wanted to talk about this anyway. I was on last week. Petros and Money, our mutual pal, Matt Money Smith, was out, so I filled in, and I was talking about this, and it was funny because I'm talking to a couple Angelino natives who love the Dodgers and everything else, and I was saying, like, well, the Dodgers aren't popular nationally. They're loathed now. I mean, they're hated up and down the West Coast, but I think now they've taken on this thing of, like, yeah, they're the new evil empire. And these guys were like, what are you talking? Really? You think that that's the case? And yeah, of course. And in fact, I invoked one Eddie Spaghetti's name, because I said, as my guy Eddie Spaghetti is keen to point out, the Dodgers are probably more loathsome fundamentally than the Yankees of the 90s were, because at least the Yankees could point at the core four. Like, yeah, we brought in a bunch of free agents who no one else would be able to afford, but at least the captain was our guy, and Posada and Mariano Rivera, and those are all homegrown guys for us. The Dodgers are built almost entirely around three Hall of Fame mercenaries. Like, that's the whole thing with them. And then the figure, the enduring figure of this era is the unlikable Clayton Kershaw who always flops in the playoffs. Like they're wholly unlikable, I feel like, right?
It's so crazy to build your nucleus with other teams' MVPs. Like to take Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani and go, well, these guys seem good. Let's just throw more money than Xerxes at them, and then they'll be our core. Okay. Then the craziest part about this season, when you're like, okay, you won the World Series, admittedly, because Aaron Judge can't catch a fly ball and Garrett Cole can't jog over to first base. So it's like, all right, well, we won the World Series, but they added so much. It really was dizzying, the frontline pitching they were adding, to the point where you forgot guys. So then it's like Tanner Scott was such an apocalypse. They were just adding other teams' closers and other countries' best players. And like, we want everything. We're the defending champions, and we want more. We're evil. We're the new evil empire. So they're just adding. Then it's like, because Tanner Scott has a mental breakdown, and then Blake Trinan, like, you're like, holy shit, like they don't have a closer. Like, how did all this happen? And then they're rattling around their garage, and they go, oh, you remember this guy we got from Japan? He throws 100 miles an hour. Like, oh, right, you fucking assholes also have Sasaki to come in and throw 100 miles an hour at the back end, because you just had him laying around because you're so evil and you've added so many layers. Like, you're like, oh, we have this guy. He's like, you motherfuckers. So now, I mean, I did think the moment did look a little too big for Sasaki. He's not Yamamoto in the composure department. And by the way, in what fucking world can you have a horse who's 5'10", 176? This is not Tyler Glasnow is how that guy's supposed to look. Like, he's a foot taller than Yamamoto.
This is a fan of Pedro Martinez saying this. This is a fan of Oil Can Boyd saying this. Flash Gordon and otherwise.
Well, I mean, obviously, those are great examples, because as was borne out in the playoffs, like, those guys are not horses. You do wilt. I mean, famously, when Pedro gets sent back out beyond 100 pitches, it's like, I don't got it. Yamamoto's out there just dealing. It looks like he could throw 14 innings. He hasn't lost anything. He's 5'10", 176. Anyway, so yes, the Dodgers should be loathed nationally. They should be much more popular in Japan than they are in America. And, and so after having nothing really against them for decades, I'm like, I'm fucking over it. Except for the money.
Yeah, right. They were pure.
I'm going to win.
I wanted to throw out, like, I was just actually thinking of this topic, so I'm glad you brought it up, Shek. But it's like, I feel like with their roster, the pieces they added, there's like a huge domino effect with each one. Like, none of those moves like had to happen. Like, starting with the Freddie Freeman move. Like, I know that's kind of been debunked, or maybe just kind of saving face. The whole thing with his agent, like, they didn't tell him about like the deal the Braves gave him, because like Freddie Freeman pretty much said like he's gonna stay home, wanted like the hometown, not like a discount, but he wanted to stay there for the rest of his career. And then like his agent wanted him to go to the Dodgers. Also, kind of the Yankees kind of played a part, because the Yankees wanted to throw money at him, but they were told like, no, he's gonna stay Atlanta Brave, and then he goes into the Dodgers anyway. Like the Ohtani thing, there was a point where like, also if the Angels decided to ever just pay a player or get in some other pieces, he probably would have stayed there. The Seattle Mariners were a really big factor, and then they were like the favorites, I think, betting wise for a little bit of time, and then the Dodgers ended up with it, which is a domino effect of them getting all the Japanese pitchers who are bolstering their rotations. And then with Mookie Betts, I'm not sure. I mean, Hench, you would know more than me exactly, but wasn't that around the time when like the Fenway Roush Racing thing was happening, and John Henry was like kind of focused more also on like Liverpool, and like they didn't want to put the funds into the Red
Penguins.
Sox. That like I that
Remember they bought the Penguins,
right? So like they let like all this stuff, like it didn't, like I don't know how that like back to the luck thing with the Dodgers, like they just were the beneficiaries of all this like crazy like lucky stuff happening and just working out perfectly for them, because they're like none of those moves really had to happen.
Well, if this makes you feel better, and it should, then if you're casting them as the evil empire, they're kind of an ineffectual one. Sort of like how the actual evil empire kept trying to make a Death Star and just couldn't pull it off. Or I mean, all those Death Stars, all that money and manpower and otherwise that they put into those Death Stars, and it did blow up one planet, Alderaan. But that was it. That was the entirety of its work. They really devoted like 25, 30 years. The evil empire did. That was a bad call in
There's this
retrospect.
other thing that is happening in all those the free agent palace intrigue that Spaghetti just rattled off, where teams are like, oh, they were the betting favorite for a second, and they were
Are
told
we
he was
talking
good.
about the evil empire or the Dodgers?
The new evil empire.
Okay.
But the other factor that I don't think gets weighed heavily enough is everybody likes living in Los Angeles. Like, you're like Aldous Huxley, the Brit who wrote Brave New World, came and lived in LA for the last 20 years of his life. You're like, I saw Pulp open for LCD Sound System at the Hollywood Bowl.
Wow.
Jarvis Cocker's talking about going to the farmer's market, like on Fairfax and Melrose. I'm like, you live in LA? Does everybody live in LA? It's like, it's this weird additional tractor beam where it's like word has gotten out. Like, oh yeah, there's a lot of nice neighborhoods. What's your lifestyle? What kind of neighborhood do you want to live in? Because we have it. And so I always said this, about Mookie. It's like, when all of the Red Sox fans who live in LA were bitching about Mookie not staying in Boston when none of us stayed in Boston. Like, yeah, we got the fuck out of New England. And we're like, but we'd like you to stay there and live there so we can root for the Red Sox. Like, it's like, so of course, Ohtani, buying Corolla's house and all these guys just getting the word has got to be out, right? I'm sure Freddie Freeman's wife likes living in LA. Like,
it's funny, but what that does is deepen the sort of resentment of Los Angeles when you feel like it's all affluent people. But as I try to point out, I do try to point this out quite a bit, though. I understand that. I mean, because I'm believe me, I'm not going down this path here to talk politics or anything else. But I just want to say very quickly, it is funny to me. To me, the debate that is rolling now around this country and society and everything else is like, what are you failing to see, everybody? This has nothing to do with right versus left and conservative versus liberal. This is about the grotesquely wealthy extending their lead on the rest of us. That's exactly what's been happening in the last 10 months. That's what, if you kind of blur your eyes and look at the whole picture, that's kind of what is going on here. And as far as that goes, in LA, for what it matters, the grotesquely wealthy group of people that vote against their own interest are the Hollywood people, right? I mean, is that fair to say
well,
that they're the ones that their hearts bleed a little bit more than the other billionaires of the world?
For sure. And I do think, but it's ironic because those same people and how loathsome they are is why we're here. That they don't get it. It's like when that dingbat goes up on stage at the Emmy Awards and says, free Palestine, fuck ICE. It's like people hate you. Everybody hates like nobody likes you. If you actually cared about the Palestinians, what you should say, given how loathsome you are to everyone in America, what you should say is, I want to share this award with my personal hero, Benjamin Netanyahu. Then everyone would go, oh my God, we got to free Palestine. This fucking idiot, it's like people hate you. Like, you move people to the other argument. People hate you. So whatever you want to have happen, you should say you're on the other side. Anyway. But
that has a lot to do with Dave. A lot of people, Dave says something like, go against that. You're going to wind up on top. Smart.
Go against the Honeycrisp. So
don't do that.
But I think your analogy is exactly right. Where I love the fact that like baseball tried this half-ass salary cap, and then the Dodgers and Steve Cohen and the Mets were like, whatever, fucking, do you know how much money we have? So that in this world where the super rich are extending way beyond the regular folk, we should tip our cap to Hal Steinbrenner for keeping it real. He's keeping it real. He's like, hey, man, I'm not going to leave you have-nots behind. I'm going to make sure to run my super rich team as if I'm one of you. I'm going to win as many World Series as the Pirates over a 25-year period. Wow. Well done, Hal Steinbrenner. When are we going to talk about football?
Let's talk about that right now. Fine. I've avoided it as long as I possibly could, and I'm down in the dumps real bad, but I'm not stunned because this is what Mike Tomlin has done for the entire run of his time as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is lose to bum teams on the road. This has been a plague since he started in Pittsburgh, and apparently it continues now. Everybody riding high. And I kept telling everybody, listen, if they beat the Bengals on Thursday night, it would be a full 4-game lead on the Ravens. It would be awfully hard to blow that. Just go and take care of business, show up. Don't think too much. I mean, here's the recurring statement I've made in 2025. Since at the draft in the QB league, they didn't have a QB, remember. Now we had indications that Aaron Rodgers had made a deal on the sly with Tomlin and all of that. But nevertheless, he's an old man, so they need a quarterback for the next decade or more. I advocated for Jackson Dart because of that, because as we have seen over the, last spring, for a half dozen years, the Pittsburgh Steelers, with defensive whiz, alleged defensive guru Mike Tomlin overseeing things, had future Hall of Famer Cam Hayward, future Hall of Famer TJ Watt, and guy tracking in that direction, Minkah Fitzpatrick. 0 playoff wins during that time. At the same time, last 2 springs ago, the punchline Washington Commanders, they're so silly with Dan Snyder and everything else trying to wash that stink off. They draft Jaden Daniels and they wind up in the title game. Easy peasy math to do for everybody. At the draft, they have Jackson Dart sitting there on the board. They go Derek Harmon to beef up on the defensive line. Again, Mike Tomlin. Kyle Shanahan proves that he is, in fact, a QB whisperer and, can make any offense go because he went to a Super Bowl. He went 13-3, mind you, and went to a Super Bowl and just about beat those Chiefs with Jimmy G under center and Tevin Coleman as his feature back. Where is the evidence in 2025, Mike Tomlin, that you're a defensive wizard? And by the way, you're specifically a secondary specialist. That's how you came up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and all of that. You got smoked. And there was a lot of discussion in the last few days in Pittsburgh, PA and beyond about that what they did in free agency and otherwise the last year or two was really a direct reaction to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and the assumption those 2 cats are going to be there for a long time in Cincy, and we have to have an answer for those things. Those 2 guys whipped the Steelers secondary in a way that they haven't whipped anybody all season at least, and probably going back to last year. And mind you, it was Joe Flacco doing that. I know, he's the Steelers kryptonite. What can you do about that? He's an old man. He's Joe Flacco. That was inexcusable what just happened there. And you can't hang it on the old man quarterback of the Steelers because he was great on Thursday night. And the offense was fine. Okay, a couple bad turnovers and otherwise, but you get into the 30s, you should win the game if you are built on the idea like our foundation is our great defense. And Mike Tomlin, he understands the game, the gridiron, and one extra possession and all of that. Like that was such an atrocious loss. And now they're 4-2, and now they're getting into the tough part of their schedule as the Ravens schedule lightens up. I mean, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're fine. I don't see any reason to get your hopes up if you're a Steelers fan that this edition is going to make some deep playoff run. How say you?
Oh my God, so much to unpack. It's all delightful because we're on the same page. Joey Porter and Jalen Ramsey, like that's pretty high level. Like, I don't know, like, your personnel seems awfully good at those 2 positions. So is it scheme? I mean, obviously Jamar Chase cannot be guarded by any human, peak Darrelle Revis can't guard Jamar Chase, but when you look at Russell Wilson kind of drew all that fire last year, and we talked about it a lot about how bad the defense was for the last 2 months of last season. And then you come in, I mean, Justin Fields torched the Steelers week 1. I mean, torched them. And the Steelers don't win that game if there isn't a fumble on the kick return, which makes you, now you look at that win, that narrow victory against a Jets team that had minus 10 yards passing as a team. And you're like, oh my God. Then you look at the victory. They beat Carson Wentz by 3 points. They did beat Dylan Gabriel. There are 5 fumbles against the Patriots. The Steelers recover them all. I mean, it's 4-2 with an asterisk. That could be 2-4 so easily if the ball doesn't bounce their way. And now you're looking, as I'm sure you know, the next 7 games: Packers, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, Bears, Bills, Ravens. 3-4 or 2-5.
I mean, yeah, that's I hammered the point over and over again. It's an obvious point to make, but yeah, you got to take care of the cupcakes, especially in your division, and all the talk about, where are we in this world where that just is still a thing and is potentially actually true? It's like, well, it's a divisional game. You can't really all the rules go out the window. Like, why is that? They're terrible. They're a terrible team. Well, why would you not be able to handle? Well, they're in our division, so lay off. Like, why?
Even going back,
they're bad is what they are.
Even going back to the press conference, it's like you're worried about Joe Flacco. What does this say about your team? Like, that you felt obliged in a press conference to call out the GM by name of a division opponent to say, like, he was invoking Flacco like the Bengals had just gotten Matthew Stafford. Like, yeah, Flacco has rattled around this league for years and years and years. And of course the Browns should not be trying to go 6-11 if they can go 3-14. The Browns need to lose. That's their mission, and they're doing a good job of it. Unless Jordan Love it keeps them alive in that one game. But so when Tomlin is like, holy shit, the Bengals got Joe Flacco, we're fucked. Like, what are you talking about? And then it's like, oh, this is what he's talking about. Anybody can strafe the Steelers, apparently, because Joe Flacco just did it. Old man available on the waiver wire in every fantasy league, just torching. And by the way, when you talk about coaching, so it's like Chase and Higgins have just, obviously been strafing you for the whole game. And then it's like, okay, now it's do or die. And then the Bengals run a guy in motion. Everyone on the Steelers gets confused. And Jamar Chase is naked on a crossing pattern. I mean, he's not bracketed. He doesn't have one guy with him. He is naked. The guy, this is Michael Jordan just dribbling in for an uncontested dunk because nobody knew who had him. Like, and so he just catches the little flip over the middle, gains a bunch of yards after the catch. And you're like, what is going on? Like, that guy needs to be bracketed every play. It's baffling.
I mean, everybody gets especially pessimistic when it's their team in a big spot. But was there any doubt in any corner of football America that the Steelers scored way too early? It was inevitable that the Bengals were going to get at least a shot at it, whether or not the kicker makes it. But you knew, like, what are we talking about? Like, hey, time for the Steelers. Like, Kirk is telling Al about the game. And by the way, these two cats, one Kirk, who is sideways and loves to be a martyr for everybody about, like, oh, I got too much work. I'm sorry you have to talk about football so much, Kirk. It's a tough life, man. Making millions and millions of dollars. Poor you. But on all those flights you're taking, feel free to take out the iPad and learn up on pro football a little bit. Like you can at least get a couple of little key details to fake it a little bit that something about this team. But when the Bengals are running on the Steelers and Al is remarking, he's just stunned, like, I can't believe this is the Bengals haven't been able to run, and they're doing this against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, yeah, Al, it ain't 1976, man. The people run on the Steelers. I don't know where have you been for the last 5 years. And to your point about specifically to connect my team to yours, the Patriots. I wonder now. We've talked about it for sort of like more than a season that it feels like Drake Maye is the answer for you guys. And now are you transitioning into that feeling of like, yeah, the results don't even matter. We got our answer. And so now we're good for the next dozen years, probably. We just have to build up around Drake Maye. But now I was thinking about it. That loss to the Steelers could be the difference in them making the playoffs. And that should vex you a little bit, because I completely agree. The Patriots should have won that game. Now, some Steelers people imbued Pittsburgh's defense with magic powers. Like, did you see what those count, man? They were forcing those turnovers all day long. Like, yeah, that then why they should do more of that then. If it's like, well, they were just doing that. That's the Steelers' plan. Like, well, they should stick with that plan. They should have done that to the Bengals too, and just kept popping the ball out on Cincy on Thursday Night Football. Like, I mean, it's a foolish thing to say out loud. That somehow that they all turned into Peanut Tillman, but for only one 60-minute stretch. It left them before and after, but they had anyway. I do think that's interesting. And by the way, just to say, found your answer, and I'm lamenting the Steelers not taking Jackson Dart. Spaghetti, you're now where Hench was 1 year ago. You have the answer. It feels like, at least.
Well, that's why I was going to try to sprinkle a little bit of optimism, not just to back my own predictions that we did, a couple weeks ago or months ago, but at this point. But you weren't going to end the season with one loss anyway. The teams that get a new quarterback like that, especially a divisional opponent, they're always going to have some kind of boost. Thursday night game, like, the offense looked good, and that was really the crux of the offseason, with the Steelers, was like, what's Rodgers going to do? Is Rodgers going to be the Rodgers of old, or is he going to be old Rodgers? And brought in DK Metcalf when George Pickens leaves. Like, the offense looked good. It was a bad performance for the defense. Like, but we're in an offensive league now. Like, and also, like, a lot of these teams we thought were good, talking about the schedule, like, Ravens aren't good. Like, the rest of your division is not good. The Bills, like,
Ravens are going to get people back. That's a mirage. If you're buying that the Ravens are finished, then you're not paying attention.
There's just something about there's like a stink on that team. I don't think John Harbaugh.
But they don't have their MVP, man. I mean, the MVP.
But they're
going
bad.
To be different.
They look bad with Lamar Jackson playing. The defense is not what we thought it was.
I hear you.
Bills aren't good. We thought the Eagles were great. They don't look to be good. Like, I mean, people now are talking about, like, the Giants is a legitimately good team, and the Patriots shocked everyone. Not everyone, but they're playing like an actual really good playoff team. So maybe the teams we thought were really good are not good. Maybe the teams are bad. Like, I just think my point is the Steelers will be fine. And the Giants, like, now being, I hate the conversation of like, oh, like, Dart and Scadaboo, and like they beat the Eagles, like they're going to be a good, like, there's still a lot of holes in this team. Let's just kind of
Spaghetti hates that conversation.
I don't want to.
Spaghetti hates, like, you found your answer at quarterback, and Scadaboo is going to be an icon of New York for the next decade. I hate it.
There's more, because there's no grace period. There's no, like, let's ease into it. Let's see how they play. It's like the minute you have a good game, or the minute you beat a good team, it's like, okay, like, when the playoff time, like, it's like, let's just see things. Like, Dable it's been a mess. Like, him and Shane trying to find the right guys, and like the team was not healthy, and they're finally using Abdul Carter more, and the front seven everyone talks about is like playing a lot better, especially versus that Eagles team that's supposed to have a good offensive line. Like, let's just relax a little bit.
All right, fine,
like,
then go watch the Rags. I mean, do that then, if that'll make you feel happy.
It doesn't make. I'm happy that Chris Kreider, if the Ducks, is having a great season.
So let's see if I can tie this all together.
Ooh.
The Tigers are $200 million apart with Tariq Skubal, and Tiger fans have been telling me they're going to trade him for a huge package of guys. Hey, with that in mind, AJ Hinch, feel free to send him out for another inning at 99 pitches when you're not going to benefit from wherever. Like, fucking, he should throw 130 pitches. If he's out of town, that guy's arm should fall off before you and your team get eliminated from the playoffs. 99 pitches. His last 3 pitches are 101. Yeah, I think he's had enough. Let's get him safely in the dugout so we can lose this fucking playoff game. It's so insane. Daboll is the opposite. Brian Daboll is like, I gotta fucking survive, man. It's like Daboll's playing in a guillotine league. I gotta survive. So Jackson Dart is like, he's a revelation. He's literally doing it all. He gets dinged. He doesn't know what day of the week it is. He's got to go into the fucking tent. Daboll is tackling the neurologist. He's like, you motherfucker. He's like, I will shiv you unless you get the guy. He's trying to break into the tent. He's so win now. Dart comes out of the tent. He dials up 2 quarterback sweeps, not 1, 2 called. Like, hey, man, is that guy alive? Great. You're running the football. Like, it was so hilarious to watch Daboll not giving a shit about next year or the future. It's like, we're winning tonight, which I like. I enjoy, obviously, as a fan. You're like, oh, my God. And so, like, Dart and Scatabo are so similar in that you're like, how long can these guys play like this? Like, how are these careers going to be 18 months long? They're animals. And I'll get it all the way back to your original question. So then you watch Jaden Daniels, who was immaculate as a rookie, right? Immaculate. Healthy, no turnovers, no punts. Hey, it's a primetime game. The Commanders punter can stay home. He's just going to score every drive. Then you watch that game against the Bears, the terrible, terrible pick, and then the fumble to cost them the game after being dinged. And you're like, oh, Jaden Daniels is not just going to take all these hits and go straight to Canton. It's like we've always said, as we look at Lamar Jackson missing these games, it's like there is a limit to how many hits outside the pocket you can take. For some reason, you can take almost unlimited hits in the pocket. But when you start getting up to speed and they're getting up to speed, those hits change. So right now, and I don't know if this is a consensus or blasphemy, but I would not trade my quarterback for any of the quarterbacks in that draft. My guy, literally, if you look at the stats for passes over 20 yards, Drake Maye is head and shoulders above the rest of the league. And that's with not 1, but 2 perfectly thrown over 50-yard dimes being taken off the board by criminally negligent OPI calls. I mean, so this gets me to the reason we're doing this podcast today by popular demand. We wake up every day to, this gambling syndicate is betting on small, little, tiny college football teams. And, these Guardian pitchers have been suspended for throwing ball 1 every time they come into a game. And, these basketball players are being indicted for knowing their over-under. And like this idea that 28% of the men in America gamble on sports, but none of those guys are NFL officials or their friends, right? It is, we think we're watching something legit. We think this is all on the up and up. And it's like, if you're Roger Goodell and you want to convince your customers that this product is legitimate, then you need more than a 2-minute report. You need to explain baffling calls, especially if those calls come in after a fucking touchdown, when the teams are lining up for the extra point and a flag comes in on a 61-yard fucking touchdown pass to Pop Douglas, you're going to wipe it off the board because you've had a discussion. What the fuck is going on? So the call in question, the original shitty call in question. So Stephon Diggs runs a little mediocre, shitty non-pattern. And at the top of his route, he and the DB are hand fighting a little bit. It's not enough for illegal contact on the DB. It's not enough for defensive holding. It's certainly not OPI. It's nothing. It is nothing. It is every play. So what we always say on this podcast, in our private lives, in the car when we're alone, is make sure your call has a bearing on the play. Don't call chicken shit penalties 50 yards from the play. That is where we all then have to go, hey, what the fuck's going on? This didn't have anything to do with the play. What is happening? So now, if you have the opportunity to make a chicken shit call that has nothing to do with the play, that is 50 yards from the play, and the play results in a touchdown, but the good news is you haven't already thrown your flag, which you would then have to pick up, obviously, if it was the Chiefs. If it's the Chiefs, then you have to have a conversation. We should probably pick up this flag because they scored a touchdown, right? So now we have the embarrassment of somebody threw the flag, but since it's the Chiefs, we have to pick up the flag. That's awkward for the league. This guy hasn't thrown his fucking flag. This guy's, you're saved. You're saved from this terrible chicken shit non-call. By the way, it's just a bad call. It's not only is it chicken shit, but it's wrong. So it's wrong, it's chicken shit, and you haven't thrown the flag. Then the ball's in the end zone, team's coming out for the extra point. You go, I got this. I got this. Hey, man. Hey, boss. Boss, you know what? I saw OPI. Oh, really? On Pop Douglas? Is that why he got open? No. I saw it on a guy 50 yards from the play. What? And if you're the skipper, if you're the ref in that charge, you got to pat that guy on the fucking shoulder and go, hey, man, that's great. Keep doing your job. We're not throwing a fucking flag while these guys are lining up for the extra point. Are you out of your fucking mind? This is what's going to get our crew fired. You fucking idiot. I'm not fucking calling a flag. Where did you see this? You saw it at the top of his little short route. And what did you see? I saw OPI, man. You're like, well, so now obviously, go on any Reddit thread. There's no penalty. This is like 1972 Soviet Union fucking Olympic basketball. There's nothing. This is by the way, if you think this is OPI, you need to be fired immediately. Like, you need to be pulled off the field. If you think this is what OPI is, then you can't do your job. So again, getting to the Volpe, are you injured or do you suck? It's like, are you cheating or are you terrible? Like, there's no, like, what is going on? And so then the league gives, the pool report, it's this kind of half-assed, he had it as an OPI, but you don't call OPI until it's a pass, because if he was run blocking, then it's not OPI. And it's like, it's not OPI under any circumstances. Look at the play. So, like the 2-minute report, you got to eat it. Someone has to say, this was a mistake. This was a bad call that we regret. Then never mind, later, Stefon Diggs does not extend his arm. He does have his arm on the guy's shoulder pad in a play that happens 50 times a game, and they wipe out. So they've wiped out the Pop Douglas 61-yard touchdown on a phantom OPI call, and then they wipe out a 53-yard pass on 3rd and long on a negligible OPI call. And of course, everyone's like, just carry on. How can we fucking carry on when every day we wake up to another gambling scandal? Like, the Donaghy thing is not some distant nightmare. I guarantee you there are officials in the NFL whose buddies are betting unders. When you see, what we've done is we've created this fucking way for guys who don't make that much money to, okay, so the Bears-Commanders game, we're going to call the left tackle for lining up off the ball on the Rome Odunze touchdown. You don't want to call that, you don't want to set that tone earlier. Like, remember when they started going like, hey, man, you got to get up to the line of scrimmage? And they would just throw 3 flags in the first quarter so that you get up to the line of scrimmage, so that we're not deciding the game at the end of the game. So we're not wiping TDs off the board at the end of the game. So now you've created all these chicken shit penalties, these fucking formation penalties. That guy didn't come completely set on the far thing. It was a run to the right, but fucking, DK Metcalf didn't come set over here. Like, you've created the possibility of keeping that score down. You can keep that score down real easy. Donaghy said the way you get those overs to cash is you just call a couple ticky-tack fouls at the beginning of the quarter, and then you're in the penalty. And once you're in the penalty and teams are scoring points without the clock running, you're going to go over. You're going to hit that over. So the way you keep games over in the NFL is you fucking wipe TDs off the board. So this empowering guys who are already inept. So you're not good at your job. And by the way, the job is very difficult. Like when I see how many blocks the referee is responsible for, right? Like the left tackle tackles the guy and he gets it, but you're like, so he got that. But was he also
as I've said before, I don't want more referees theoretically, but if you really want to address the football thing, as many officials that are down there, it's still not enough. You really would need to assign an official to watch the head-to-head of every offensive lineman and who he's going at. So you would need a devoted eyes just on the left tackle and just on the left guard and center and so on.
Because you're like, how did you miss that hold on the right guard? Because I was locked on the left tackle and seeing if he was going to pull the guy down. I was going to let it go. But over here, you're supposed to be seeing what's going on. Like, it's insane. And they're not getting obviously not getting a ton of help. To me, we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis, and the league needs to be accountable. And of course, Goodell's doing the la, nothing to see here, because that's what he does. But, so the Chiefs get 13 penalties one week, not the same team. A team with their backup left tackle in gets 0 penalties the next week. Aiden Hutchinson was not held one time in that game, according to the officials, with a backup tackle playing left tackle. So it's
first time too that crew never called a penalty, and it happens to be the Chiefs.
So and then the Jaguars, when they took the TD off when they put the TD back on the board after the OPI, and they're like, the Chiefs ran at the ref and they go, no, we get a yard. We can run our pick play within a yard. And then the broadcast is showing where the pick occurred. And you're like, no, you got it right. You got it right. But you're getting yelled at by Patrick Mahomes. So you pick up your flag. Like, it's so fucking insane. So we're in full crisis. Obviously, anybody who watches the NFL like we do knows there's way too much opportunity for malfeasance. And by the way, when someone goes like DK Metcalf didn't get set, or Ramondre Stevenson didn't get set, or this guy was a little off the line of scrimmage, we just move on with our lives. Like, nobody goes, like, it's funny that both the Liberty coach and the Mercury coach both get run for arguing good calls, good non-calls. Like, but they lose their minds. And so when the coach loses their mind, it does draw attention to the play. Like, okay, well, now we really have to see if Alyssa Thomas fouled Nafisa Collier. I don't know. Let's take a look. But on all these penalties, it's like 40 seconds on the play clock. There's no time to go get a technical foul. Like, you're on to the next play.
You're right about the flood of every play, and so it leaves everything up for debate. Like, the old thing about, like, you could call holding on every play is kind of sort of true. It's not exactly right, but that gets at what.
Yeah, and so you go like, about. so then it's like, these chicken chip penalties. And this new development of, hey, ref, am I lined up legally? We're not going to tell you anymore. Mm-hmm. We're going to surprise you after the play. Yeah. We're going to surprise you after the touchdown. We're going to go, nope, you were 8 inches further back than I wanted you to be. It's nuts. And by the way, the problem, and again, we wake up every day, gambling scandal, betting syndicate, gambling scandal, player, pitcher, basketball player, small colleges. It's an epidemic. And the sheer ineptitude of officiating has provided a perfect cover for criminality, right? So it's like, how would you know? How would you know if this guy's brother has bet the under?
Paula Abdul on American Idol is the best example of what you've been getting at this whole episode. Like at the height of her stardom on American Idol, it was like people are like, she's on drugs, and she's like, how dare you accuse me of drugs? Oh, so you're just crazy. Oh, I didn't really, but yeah, that's exactly what
we're
getting.
Not cheating. We're terrible. And so the league has to, I mean, the 2-minute report is insufficient, but it is nice when you go, hey, your team got fucked. Your team got fucked. Mm-hmm. Hey, that closeout against the Pistons, the Knicks got lucky. That was a foul. It's cold comfort, but at least the league is acknowledging it. This Goodell thing of like, we nailed it again. We nailed it again. Absolutely perfect.
Well, but they're doing the opposite now, where they're pulling. You're no longer allowed to talk, like all these guys that come on Twitter or whatever, or YouTube and talk about the NFL. They're not letting you use footage. So while all this stuff is happening, it's like, well, we want to make sure the public sees less of it to not question this stuff. So it is very, 1984. It's very strange what's going on here. And there's the other thing that you didn't mention, Hench, which is making me go crazy lately with the referees. It wasn't even in an NFL game. It was in the Notre Dame NC State game. Didn't really matter because Notre Dame blew them out. But why do we accept certain things in sports and we just like, oh yeah, that's the way it is? If like the call on the field having more like you have to basically overturn it because it's like, well, that's what the referee said. If we have replay assist and we have video assist, and if the referee was wrong, there shouldn't be a thing where you have to like prove extra to reverse it. It should just be, it's like, no, this call was wrong. In the Notre Dame game, 2 times it happened. The point of the ball is hitting the grass, and as we all know, you have to establish possession before the ball can touch the ground. And if the minute you see nose of the football on grass, that is an incomplete pass, and that was not enough evidence to overturn that, and it was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. This whole like idea that you have to like ultra prove the call to reverse it's insane. It should just be the right call or the wrong call.
Hey, the jury convicted the wrong guy. Poof, we're gonna really have to raise the bar to let this guy out of prison. Well, no.
Right.
Well, you're right, Spaghetti. It's always been about, for the NFL specifically, it's about on-field control. They didn't want to give that up for a long time. They didn't like the notion of formal, central command kind of thing. But to your point, which is obviously the way, and to Hench's point, everybody saw a Hunt for Red October now. Sean Connery went rogue. And so you eliminate that, or you marginalize that by having central control of your Navy, I guess. That's a bad example because now I'm talking about the Soviet Union and they were the bad guys, and it was Sean Connery was a good guy for doing that. Ramius, I think his name was. Anyhow, the point is central control is the right way to do things here to remove any rogue behavior that what Hench is talking about. And even if it isn't nefarious, that again, it's always important to remind people the referees and the quarterbacks and the coaches are all people, and they are subject to emotions and to narratives that they hear on their way to the game, on the airplane or in the car or otherwise. I mean, these people are pro football referees. I don't think it's a big leap to say they probably listen to NFL podcasts or radio or TV shows. And so they hear the same stuff that we do about the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. And to try to connect it, Patrick Mahomes does well. Like, poor Patrick Mahomes doesn't have any pass catchers, but look Tom Brady. Look how great Tom Brady is because he's winning Super Bowls with Danny Amendola and Julian Edelman, and we celebrate Tom Brady for his greatness. But with Baker Mayfield, the discussion these last couple of weeks has been like, boy, he was in some tough football situations, but he found himself in a good football situations, and that situation in Tampa, that's where he needed to be. Like, how about the fact that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and the rookie breakout potential offensive rookie of the year, Egbuka, those 3 guys are all unavailable, and he's throwing touchdown passes and winning pro football games, throwing to Tez Johnson. It's like good situation for Bake. Like those 2 things are equal. That Tom Brady thrived with Danny Amendola and Julian Edelman. Same goes for Baker Mayfield. He's thriving throwing the ball to Tez Johnson, but the discussion is very different. And so in that same way, when you watch Jawan Taylor start early for the Chiefs, it's like, wow, what are you going to do? And then another tackle does that on another team. It's like flag. That's procedure. And it's like, well, what's the explanation for that? It's that I assume they're subject, if it's not nefarious, like I say, worst case is they're doing it to rig the game, but it allows. Kevin Hench is not a conspiracy theorist, but when you look at the results, you say like, well, something weird's going on here. I lean towards ineptitude plus them being influenced, whether they would acknowledge it or not. You just think it's the same thing, the like Barry Bonds strike zone was smaller than other people's. You give benefit of the doubt. Like Michael Jordan, like he got fouled there. He missed that shot. He must have gotten fouled there. That's what happens with these officials. They're human beings. They assume
it was interesting
greatness.
That last night they called the right guard for firing off the ball on the tush push. The Eagles have done it 10 times.
Great way, right?
It was like, yeah, well, their tush push is great. Your tush push is going to come under a little closer scrutiny. If you could bet, right? If people could bet, and maybe they can, on Honeycrisp or wherever you're whatever the
I'll take all that action,
right? But then you're like, oh, if I pick Honeycrisp, my friend can pay for his kid's college tuition. Like it's impossible to keep your arms around this when it's like, you don't have to throw the game, buddy. You don't have to change who wins or loses, right? It's like, these spreads, just keep it under, keep it a little lower. And so the idea that of all these crews with all their friends, that there's nobody who is trying to influence it one way or another feels insane to me. And if they are clean, then on the crazy indefensible calls, you have to release a statement. You have to say, this guy blew it. And by the way, the other thing is, like, we know Zach Zarba made that call. We're like, Zach Zarba made this call. In the NFL, you're like, I don't know. I don't even know if it was the side judge or the line judge or the field judge. I don't know. We know the refs, but we don't know. They will never kind of let us know who the actual guy who made this call is. And, Spaghetti always points this out, right? The tipping point. So the in-booth official has largely served to go, that's a very difficult call. I agree with the call. I see what happened. Like, it's like on the Stephon Diggs OPI that eliminated the 61-yard touchdown to Pop Douglas. Gene Steratore they asked Gene. Now, Gene will say, I wouldn't have thrown a flag there. Gene's reaction is like, oh boy. Like Gene's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, Gene's watching the play. Gene cannot come up with an explanation. Like, your in-booth shill for the officials, your guy who is there to soothe us, to make sure we know everything's okay, is fucking stammering because the call is so terrible, and it flips the whole script. Like, you're taking a TD off the board. It's insane. And Steratore's like, it's like, he can't even come up with like, Vladimir Putin is a great man. He's a great man. Vladimir Putin is a great leader. Vladimir Putin is restored to the honor of the empire. He can't come up with the fucking party line because he's so freaked out by what he's watching. So it's like, okay, moving on, nothing to see here. We'll move on to the next shitty collection of officiating. And so, we're the problem is with the way these guys all get busted, right? The way it all gets busted is like, and you got to tell your friends, hey guys, bet $1,000. Don't bet $25,000. If you bet fucking $25,000 on East Tennessee State, it's going to get flagged. Like, you got to, if suddenly there are these huge bets coming in on Emmanuel Class A to throw a ball on the first pitch, that's how it gets flagged. So you got to just go real easy. You know what won't get flagged? Bets on the fucking Super Bowl. That won't get flagged. There's so much money on every prop, on everything. It's like, so we are most susceptible when it matters most. Like the game where you are covered because there's so much action on it that if you got to go, trust me, bet that guy's under, because if he scores a long one, I'll call fucking OPI or illegal formation. And it's like, it's gonna happen if it's not already happening. And the league is silent and absent. And by the way, you mentioned Al Michaels. We look back at those quaint days of Al saying overwhelming, like Al had to like obliquely refer to gambling. And it was like, but we understood the prohibition. We knew why gambling, it was church and state. You had to have this wall. It had to be separate. And it's like, well, why, man? Can't we all just make money? DraftKings, FanDuel, let's do it. Let's run some ads. And you're like, well, you can do it. But guess what's going to happen? You're going to have gambling scandals in every sport. There's no possibility of keeping it clean once the floodgates have opened. By the way, it was hard to keep it clean before the floodgates opened, right? We grew up with huge gambling scandals, Boston College, Tulane. And so now it's like, it's so tempting. If you legalized fentanyl, would there be more ODs or fewer? Right? It's like, yeah, you've opened Pandora's box, and and Pandora's lined up off the line of scrimmage. So
well, and it's why the NFL, and why it makes no sense until you say what you're saying, Hench. Like, why would the NFL at this time, when the quality of the images is better than they've ever been before, why would the NFL now try to pull back on, like, please don't or not, please don't, we're going to crack down on you if you attempt to include our video in your social media post or whatever. It's because like that cutesy stuff with Goodell that he tries to pull off. Like, I mean, like he now literally smirks about it. Like, yeah, our league, he makes fun of people who insinuate bad behavior with the officials and all of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't fly anymore for exactly what you're saying. Like you're actively telling us there's nothing to see here now. Don't even look at it. You're not allowed to see it. And it's weird too for not just not the betting public, but for the viewing public. It stinks. There's something lousy about it, more so than there was a decade ago when the league defends its officials. That's your priority is to defend the officials over what our eyes are telling us. We all see it, man. Hey, Raj, we're all looking at the same stuff. And the thing about, like, specifically with holding, that you just kind of let go and it washes over you because it's every play. You could call holding on every play. I don't think that's necessarily true. What is true, on every pass route, you could call PI every time. And sometimes, and then they go to the territories and otherwise, and they're like, oh, I just see some hand fighting there, I would let that go. Or it's like, yeah, you can see the grab there. It's like they grab each other on every play. The receiver and DB grab each other every time. And then it's like, oh, he must have seen that, the back judge must have seen that tug on the jersey. Like, we could see it every play if he's looking at it, because it's there on every time, and it's a completely subjective. Like, yeah, I think I'd let that one go. Like, based on what? Why did the one get called and the other one didn't? It's inexplicable and it's unsatisfying.
Help me out here. Is it? I think it was Chiefs Lions, or no, Bears Commanders. Yeah, Bears Commanders. Yeah, okay. So it's Caleb Williams is sweeping to the pylon, and the commander defender is closing the angle. And then the Bears blocker, was it Swift, has such a fistful of jersey that it's stretched 8 yards, the guy's jersey. And then you're like, well, this is always a penalty. A lot of times they can't see if he's got a nice fistful of jersey, but like, this is obvious. And then I don't know if it was Terry or Gene, I don't remember who said, it doesn't materially slow down. In a way, it's like, it's kind of what we would like, which is, did it materially affect the play? I don't know what the material is, polyester, but like, did it materially affect the play? And if it doesn't, let it go. It's like, wait a minute, is this the new standard? Because this would be awesome if it's the new standard. But will not be the standard on the next play. The next play is going to be the chicken shit standard. But when you see a guy with 8 yards worth of jersey in his hand, and it's like, that's not a penalty because the guy wasn't slowing down perceptibly enough, like because he's got a extra stretchy jersey that you're allowed to take a handful of jersey and pull on it. Like, it's so fucking inconsistent and so insane. And then again, the league is like, if you take down the Zapruder film and say no one's allowed to watch it, you're like, well, what are you? Well, I just thought he was a lone gunman in the book depository, but now that you've taken down the Zapruder film, I definitely want to look into this. So it's like, so the NFL is sort of doing the conspiracy theorists work for them by being behaving in such an obviously guilty way. Let them. The video should exonerate you. If the video is proving the point, then you got a problem.
No better analogy is coming to mind. So it's like it would be the equivalent of like Rashida Tlaib saying something insane, everybody being like, well, let's all just assume that position then. That like the Democratic Party leaders would be like, she doesn't speak for all of us. She's just getting out of bounds a little bit. It's as though the rogue official it's the tail wagging the dog. It's crazy to me that that to me is where it breaks down the on-field official. It's not, I mean, Central Command should also be in the ear of the head official saying like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but that guy's being a hardo, had nothing to do with the play, with the result of the play. You should let the touchdown stand. That should be where it happens, but it should also be the head official doing that too.
Checks and balances though is the NFL admitting defeat, and then the NFL will never do that because they should 100% have, like you're saying, a stronger Central Command. Or even like when teams hire like those like auditing companies to come in and like check what they're spending on, like the Yankees just had, like the NFL should just do that. Have like a outside, like isolated entity that just says like, okay, these referees are screwing this up. They have to fix this on the spot, and like that should be the Central Command because
should be us. It should. That's the third party is us because I've sat with Hench and Sal and a group and we've watched really countless football games. And I don't think we ever got a call wrong. And it didn't take us more than 4 seconds. One replay, like, oh, well, the ball obviously hit the ground. Like, let's move on. And then 11 minutes later, they'll arrive at the same verdict. Almost always. Sometimes they'll screw it up. But
it was funny last night, and we got to wrap this thing up. But like, so to me, when DK Metcalf does not make it to Canton, the play that should be everyone's argument, whatever numbers he ends up with, they won't be that great, obviously, but like DK Metcalf just getting the ball taken away from him by a much smaller DB, that is DK Metcalf's whole career. DK Metcalf always physically dominant, and yet the result is he fumbles after the catch or he runs the wrong route. But like last night, he catches the ball. It's a good throw. He's got it. And then the DB goes, I'm going to just take that away from a much bigger guy. I'm just going to take it away from you. And then DK falls out of bounds and he does the DK thing. He looks confused, but like the ref doesn't know whose ball it is. The clock is still running. It is complete fucking chaos.
That was a wild scene. That official, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Nobody knows if the ball is live. Nobody knows if it was complete, if it was incomplete, if it was intercepted. And that was a play where it was like, oh, this is obviously going to be adjudicated upstairs because you guys have all forfeited your control over the scene. It was just like utter chaos, clock's running. Then DK's like, do I have to tackle this guy? Like, is no one even blowing a whistle? Like, it was so insane. So if you're Goodell, so like what you need to do to prevent 90-minute podcasts like this from inveighing against your fucking out of control league.
We will be shut down soon by him. So
is if you suspend guys for terrible calls, then at least they know I'm under a microscope. I am not acting, with complete fucking insane independence here. I am part of a larger thing. And so it's like, again, because the story hasn't come out yet, I don't have the actual evidence of the gambling syndicate betting on unders when this guy is the side judge or this guy is the field judge. So obviously, all I have is the worst fucking call I've ever seen, wiping out a 61-yard touchdown. And so if you're Roger Goodell and you're like, we're fine with that guy, we're totally comfortable with his read on that play, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
that's why you can't have gambling. It's why it's the cardinal sin. It's why the 1919 Black Sox got shut down in the way they did, and why it all Alex Karras and all that stuff. They Paul Hornung and all that. They will shut that down real hard, because if you make your league, if your fans are watching it and we're like, I don't trust the results, then you have no league anymore. Goodell's glib response is unsatisfying, because, as opposed to a quarter century ago, like, I keep saying quality of televisions and everything else, but that's what we're consuming. Formal control of the rogue official should belong in New York City or otherwise, and be like, I don't know what that guy's doing, but override that, call their head official. But also, we're watching on our TVs and we're like, Roger is telling us, like, don't believe our eyes. Like, what you're seeing is not true. That official knows better than you do. Like, no, because
and I think the perfect farewell.
We know way too much about football now, Roger. This is not like 1958. Like, everybody understands all the precious rules of pro football. And so now it's like, well, you just don't get the nuance of it. Like, yeah, we do. Yeah, a lot of us do get it.
Well, it's funny. The perfect example of the need for ball strike accountability, right? So it's like, we know next year they're going to tap their helmet, right? And so we also know that it got to a crisis point where we needed to do something on the ball strike calls. They're just deciding games erroneously. So next year they can tap their helmet. Pretty cold comfort for Padres fans that's next year. That's next year you can tap your helmet. So this year, you got to live with a fucking horrible call third strike as the Cubs are melting down. That there's no way the Cubs get out of that inning.
What if you had I mean, this is a dark thing, but like, what if you had a polio limp? And if you had a polio limp right now, you'd be like, man, we got the vaccine for it. A lot of good it does me.
No, so baseball's like, we have a crisis. This is what we're going to try in the minor leagues. It seems to work. It's very fast. We'll bring it into the major leagues. And then what we're going to see next year is like, oh my God, these calls all would have been wrong, right? Obviously, the challenges are going to have a massively high percentage. So the NFL, they go, well, we have replay. Right. Just not on the biggest fucking calls in the game. On the biggest fucking calls in the game, when that fucking yellow laundry comes out, you can't review it. It's insane. Hey, we can review these chicken shit calls about whether the ball was marked 6 inches short. That we can review. Massive PI calls. Hey man, we got to live with it. Like, it's crazy. It is insane. And we've been saying it since replay came in. It's like, oh, good. Well, then we'll replay the 55-yard pass interference call. Nope. No can do on that. And then, it's like they tried it and they didn't like it, or whatever, the year they did it. And it's like, well, these are still the human error. And again, we are praying that it's human error. That is our best hope, is that these guys suck. That's our, because if it's not human error, it's that other thing. And fucking Roger Goodell should get his shit together, because if it's not human error, it's the thing that's going to fucking bring it all down. If people think they are betting on something that is fixed, then all of that goes away, unless they're brothers, the field judge.
And don't you see that this is why we complain so much? Because we care. Because if you take away football,
oh God,
I mean,
don't even say it.
I don't even know what I'd do. What would I do to fill the hours? I don't even know what. There wouldn't be a point.
We didn't gather at the warehouse for football last weekend. So I don't think my 11-year-old really knows what I'm doing on Sundays. Like, I don't know. She didn't give a shit. So then, but last Sunday, I sat in front of the quad and watched, the terrible OPI call against Stephon Diggs, all the early games. Patriots won, watched the late games. Then Sunday Night Football starts. Great. And Gigi walks into the living room and goes, "Is this all you've done today?" And I'm like, oh, she doesn't know this is all I do every Sunday. It just happened to be home for all 10 hours of inert football consumption.
My 9-year-old keeps saying, Papa, you love to watch football. That's what you do all the time is watch football. She's fascinated by how single-minded I am.
Well, at least I didn't build all my fantasy teams around Malik Neighbors.
Listen, these are the big takeaways for me. Hench, that's a pretty strong statement as we wrap it up here. So the overarching statements, the 20 minutes of referee talk, which was really strong. Before all that, Drake Maye would rather have him than Caleb or Jaden Daniels, and I don't think that's a crazy opinion to take because I think he is the most durable of the three in body type. I mean, I just think that that's when you look at them, the assumption that Jaden Daniels, because he got through his rookie season clean, means that he is going to get through his career physically clean is a major leap of faith there. And, I think that we're starting to see that if you don't know how to avoid those car wrecks, you're going to get got in pro football. And so Drake Maye's good in that regard. I also like him bringing back those deep shots. We were swooning in terms of offensive philosophy, but I like to see the NFL coming back a little bit. What I don't care about, though, is this is what Goodell depends upon, is that the takeaway from that miserable Steelers loss is that Steelers fans and Steelers media would spend even 90 seconds of their day today talking about, like, got to say, Aaron Rodgers 70 air yards on that Hail Mary. I don't care about the 70 air yards. They just lost to the Bengals. Like, got to give him credit though. Got to give. I don't care. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I never doubted his arm strength. I doubted the approach of the brain trust. And here we are losing games to the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Flacco at QB. Eddie Spaghetti is down maybe more than both of us are, Hench. Actually, Hench should be feeling pretty good because, like we say, he has Drake Maye. Final thoughts before we go, or is that?
Well, I will say this, when you look at what George Pickens is doing in Dallas, and you look at how limited DK is and how kind of easy he is to take away. Aaron Rodgers putting up 31 points with Pat Freiermuth as his guy is incredible. He when you look at like his, you say you're not worried about his arm strength. Well, you certainly should have been on the fucking pop fly to the center fielder, right? He had a moment where he thought it was 10 years ago and he just threw a lollipop that got picked off,
he thought it's 10-0 against the Bungles. Let's have some fun. And that's why you don't get loose in the first half of a pro football game when you're playing another pro football team.
That pop fly pick against last night reminded me of a pop fly pick against the Lions when they needed to beat the hapless Detroit Lions to get into the playoffs, and Rodgers was terrible. So, but the fact that first of all, I don't even mention it, like, that's got to be a record, right? When every tight end who dresses scores a touchdown. Like, these are not guys that are getting fucking big separation. Like, he is making plays. And so to put together that line, those numbers with 4 TD passes, when you don't have Jamar Chase, you don't have T. Higgins, you got DK Metcalf. I mean,
but the Bengals don't have any name-worthy defenders either. How did that? I mean, that was against the
reason
Bengals who get smoked over and over again. Oh,
the reason I started Rodgers in my guillotine league with Josh Allen on a bye, and I had to kind of like look at the schedule, and then I was like, oh, the Bengals defense is terrible. And this was before Hendrickson was hurt, but obviously I was like, I think Rodgers is going to have a good game in Cincinnati.
Smart.
And I might survive another week in guillotine. My team is terrible, but because the league fucking neighbors got hurt. So I'm targeting. I'm like, Rodgers is going to have a good game in Cincinnati, and then they just announced like Trey Hendrickson isn't playing. I'm like, oh, he is going to carve them up. Like they had no pass rush
in the first half. He literally was just standing back there. This isn't. I hope they don't get outsized confidence from this game. I was really thinking that in the first half, like they're going to get a false sense of self because they're having to deal with zero pass rush, and they're not going to be ready for stiffer competition. That by the end of the first half, that had all evaporated. Hey, but I know I keep saying last thing, but last thing here for you guys is I don't know if it worked out on the waiver wire, but in the big league, by the way, the Cool Cats need a big rally. We got deep in the hole because Joe Burrow got hurt and AJ Brown has been bad this year. Big Cool Cat style trade last week with the Dutch Mook for Rico Dowdle, Eddie Spaghetti, that provided the margin of victory. And now the Cats are back in business this season. Didn't hate seeing Jamar Chase get all those targets. If they're going to do it, I don't mind Jamar Chase being the thing. I put in a bid late last night for one Justin Fields, and I may well start him in week 7 in the year of the Lord 2025. Wisdom of that, Eddie Spaghetti. My other options are Jackson Dart going up against a real good defense, maybe the best,
Yeah.
and Matthew Stafford without Puka. I think I'm going to go Justin Fields. What do you fellas think about that?
He would be my third pick out of those 3.
Really?
Yeah, because Jackson Dart has been running the ball. He'll find a way to get in the end zone. I'm not certain Justin Fields will find the end zone.
Hench?
There's no Garrett Wilson. I don't see how he. I mean, I don't know. Like that's a poo platter. That's a Puka platter. But
Yeah, not good.
I would go with Tutu over the poo that Justin Fields is going to be throwing to.
All right, next time we got to get to one battle after another. Our proper conversation about that. Plus, we didn't talk about who's sadder. The guy whose name I already couldn't tell you, who threw the season away at home plate against the Dodgers last week, or Aaron Judge, which is the more tragic figure. Aaron Judge, who is going to the Hall of Fame and is going to get one of them plaques out there in the weird graveyard of Yankee Stadium. But in the first paragraph of his Hall of Fame thing will be like, yeah, he also dropped the fly ball that cost him the World Series probably, or the guy whose name value will only be, yeah, he threw the season away. Meditate on that. We'll do that the next time we can.
And then, as for those people who have not seen one battle after another yet, be warned that you are watching 3 movies simultaneously, and the best genre of the 3 movies you're watching is the comedy. The comedy in that movie is so strong. I mean,
see, now I'm ready to jump into another
hour. I gotta go.
We went 90 minminutes and didn't talk about Cignetti. This is incredible.
Yeah, Coach Cignetti, he's like Dameshek and like Mark Cuban. You know, he's Pittsburghers, but then we go over to Bloomington, Indiana, and make it a sunnier day. What do you think, Eddie Spaghetti? We don't need Hench to have a quick conversation about Coach Sig.
I think
it's funny because Jeff Schwartz and Pablo Torre both said in advance of this, they said, you know, the luster of Penn State and all of that, like in the age of NIL, there's no reason to think that the Hoosiers can't build the exact same thing that Penn State can, right?
Well, I think the problem with that's like Penn State had the ability to spend money in the NIL and they don't. Like people thought the NIL, this is like my example, is like people think, oh, like transfer portal NIL, like, oh, so Fresno State and Central Michigan and whatever, NC State, they're all going to become like these powerhouses. Like, no, it's like the same schools that spend money. It's Ohio State spending $30 million in their roster that won the championship last year. But I do think the move is incredible, even if, and like the length of the contract.
Big Ten, just to declare, it's the Big Ten money. They all the Big Ten schools specifically are loaded up now. That's why they can afford that.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State has a ton of Adidas money too. Like the rumor is it's kind of why they pushed Franklin out. But
they paid for it, a lot of it, right?
And having Terry Pagula as a donor, who's a big deal in Penn State, it certainly helps. But even if Cignetti doesn't win a title, which if I had a bet, I would say he probably does not win a title in his tenure there. It's just such a great move, not only to lock in a coach who's transformed the program in a few seasons, but it's just another team that is going to be dipping their hands in the pool of players in that region of the country to fight off the Michigans, to fight off the Ohio States, to fight off the Penn States, even Oregon out west who's in that conference. Like, you have another powerhouse there is great, and it's going to spread the talent around. And I do think like having it just makes that a lot harder. I also think this probably shows like why you need to have more than 12 teams, or if we're going to have 12 teams only, you have to be okay with multiple losses, because there's just too many good programs now, and you're going to see teams are going to have like I don't think there'll be an undefeated team this year. That's my take, but like I think if we're having a 12 team playoff only, I think you have to be okay with really good teams having definitely one, if not two losses, and like this shows why. So I think it's a
I
great
mean,
move. I
there'll
think it's a
definitely
smart
be some
move.
two-loss teams, certainly.
Well,
I mean, your guys, if the Irish run the
but that's
table,
what I'm
they're going.
saying. But that's what I'm saying. Like there's people now who are like, why do they deserve to be blah blah blah? It's like, well, because they scheduled their two hardest games in the beginning of the season, one on the road with their freshman quarterback. So it's like you have to people have to accept it in their brains that like two losses, and if you have 16 teams, like forget about it. So I think it's just great. It's great to have a coach who can change a program for a school that's known as a basketball school, doesn't bolt for the Florida job that's about to upcome like soon, I think probably this weekend, the Penn State job. He's staying there. He's bet on himself after leaving Alabama, like going to what D2 or whatever. And I think it's a great story. Don't really like the guy, and I'm glad Notre Dame trounced them when they did. But I think for the
Oh,
sport
he's
and for the
funny. What do you
conference,
mean you don't like him? He's
some of
hysterical.
some of the comments he made, it's they weren't great, but we did the
What
talk
about
on the
the
field.
Irish?
Yeah, but we did the talking on the field, so it's all good. I mean, his very strange like interviews
Oh,
he's
he's,
done.
he's trying to puffing his chest
He
out.
tried it, lost, and James Franklin tried it, lost. So it's what happens. But I do think the move overall is a really good move. I'm glad to see another up and coming school it's not like a flash in the pan. They're going to be
Well,
maintaining. They
that's
will be
right.
staying there. So that's what's great about it.
Well, that's why it's important that they do it because I can't even think of the guy's name, which is embarrassing. What was that? Tom Allen.
Hmm.
Um, you know that was like a little bit of a false start. You could have jumped in as an Indiana Hoosier fan. What was that, 5 years or so ago? COVID, because there was nobody in the stadium when Michael Penix extended the ball at the pylon to beat Penn State. You remember that, and they almost beat
Hmm.
Ohio State in Columbus. But then it all just evaporated the next year. It was like a big mirage. Michael Penix hurt his knee and all of that, but still, it was like, are the Hoosiers actually going to be good at football? Like that, they just had one good half season in COVID. This now is taking on a more durable vibe, and it's funny that they beat Oregon because I think that's kind of potentially where they could head. It's unlikely the headwinds and everything else, and ironically, the NIL stuff, they're flush with money, so they should be able to keep up in that regard. But because you can't build, an 80 deep roster like Bama and Ohio State don't have that advantage anymore that they used to have, which is, our fourth string could beat the bum teams, could beat Vanderbilt. That's no longer the case because it has evened up a little bit. And I think that that they could be sort of like Oregon potentially now. By vanquishing Oregon, they could be this decade's version of where Oregon was at the start of the millennium. It does have the feeling that it's not built around. I mean, obviously, it's literally not built around one QB. You could kind of think like maybe he brought over the kid from JMU and they plugged him in, and he's 27 years old or whatever he was. And it's like he just gets the system, and once he goes away, so too will the magic. And then they upgrade the Fernando Mendoza, and now when you see, that's how you get into. And I hate to invoke the name Lincoln Riley. In advance of your big game this weekend, but that's how you get a reputation for like that's the destination for you if you are a certain kind of guy. Like then you want to be a part of that machine, and I want to go be a part of Cignetti's. Fernando Mendoza is now obviously going to be a first-round draft pick last year. That is appealing to a 17-year-old right now, considering where to go to school, or a guy who's about to transfer out of another Big Five place. That's how you build it up. The thing that was striking to me above all else with that one, and I said it before the game, and I was talking to Jeff Schwartz about it on Football America, is just don't. It was very much Rocky Balboa against Creed in the first fight. It was like Balboa's goal is not to win the fight. He's not going to beat the heavyweight champ. He's not going to beat Ali. But if he can survive in the ring, that's success. And that's why I said to Schwartz before, like, just don't get trucked. Don't let happen. I mean, not let, but I hope they are further along than where they were last year against Notre Dame, because when they get up against a physical heavyweight, they're just going to get steamrolled, and there's nothing really you can do to offset that. That was what was stunning to me about it. It was like, wow. I thought maybe they get a couple long touchdowns and that offsets the bullish Oregon Ducks. No, they held their own at the line of scrimmage all day. That was amazing. And so if they can have that, then I'm with you. I don't think they're winning the national championship this year, but I'd be happy to be surprised by it. But yeah, it's good times. The only lament for me is maybe he could have been the Pitt coach too. It's a little sad that Coach Sig was sitting there in the backyard the whole time, and they're like, no, we don't want no Coach Sig over here in Pittsburgh, PA. That would be an even happier story. But this works out neatly for Vane Dave watching another Pittsburgh native do in Bloomington what Dameshek did, which was run through it all. Well, that didn't happen for me, but Coach Cignetti's doing it now. Good luck in your weekend. Oh, Football America, I do want to plug it specifically to audience of one, Eddie Spaghetti. We had Matt Leinart on, and we talked about the rivalry and all of that and how much he hates Notre Dame and everything else. So that'll get you good and fired up in advance of the game on Saturday. Elimination game, I think, right?
Well, best of luck to the USC Trojans. Have to come to Notre Dame in like a 50-degree, very rainy day. Not a physical
Ooh,
team.
it's gonna
So,
rain.
yeah,
Ooh,
it's not. I now see why that spread was so big to open
lay
up
the
with.
points, right?
Because, but they have some speed. But I also think that CJ Carr. I don't know if there's a quarterback I'd rather have right now than CJ Carr. How he's been playing, and some people
Liner like CJ Carr.
yeah, he is phenomenal. He's the best quarterback of Notre Dame I've ever watched. So it's pretty good. And then obviously Love and Price in the backfield. Like there are some injuries, but I do feel pretty good about it.
I I'd be surprised if Notre Dame doesn't truck them.
Yeah,
That's my expectation. But
they
anyway,
look good versus Michigan though. SC. So that was a good one.
that was a really good win. But of course, when you start getting in, that's what they always say about the SEC teams, right? Like every week. That's the trick is to do it again now.
And this could be the last matchup for Notre Dame SC for quite a while. It doesn't seem like SC has really any ambition to keep playing Notre Dame because of, they're in the Big Ten now and it's just another tough game in their schedule. So again, before people feel like, oh, Notre Dame joined a conference, like this is what happens. Like the teams, like they're the ones choosing this. It's not Notre Dame. So that USC took it off their school's website. Just throwing that out there.
Maybe they should run Penn State out of the Big Ten since they ain't worthy of Northwest. They lost to Northwestern. I'm over the moon about that, and Penn State fans get very upset when I laugh about Penn State. But I wonder if maybe deep down you understand now that it would be good to play the Pitt Panthers, your longtime rival. Oh, we're too good. We're too good for Pitt. Are you still too good for Pitt now? Good luck in your coaching search. Coach Sig is off limits. All right, that's it for us. We almost did 2 hours here, Eddie Spaghetti. A lot of gum flapping, and yet we didn't talk about a lot of the things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess that means we have a lot of meat on the bone for our next conversation. One battle after another. We will definitely get to it then. In the meantime, good stuff from Eddie Spaghetti. Good luck to his Irish this weekend. Go check out Shifting Gears, Tim Allen, helmed by one Kevin Hench. Check that out. Football America, wherever you find your podcasts on YouTube and beyond. Check that out. And until next time, thanks so much, sports fans. It's been a thin slice of heaven.